Well, BP, what a remarkable day of tennis. Day 5 at Flushing Meadows, arguably the best day of tennis we've had in 2021. What did you make of it all?
I think we're going to remember this day for a long, long time because, Jed, you and I, we follow the sport day in, day out. We love to see the breakthrough. We love to see the young buck on a big stage step up and take a scalp. And, tennis, I think, is in a really healthy spot right now. I mean, the women's has been wide open for a little while. There's so much depth there. They're fearless. I mean, listen to Leila Fernandez, talk after she won today. When did you think you could win the match? Before the match. That's great. I'm glad you're thinking like that, not halfway through. Alcaraz, we're going to talk about in a moment. I mean, this guy is a superstar in the making, and I'm not trying to overplay that. You can see it, the way he's developed physically. So we love that. We've been talking about the big three. We've been talking about Zverev, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, Rublev, Berrettini, all chasing the big three. Then this pack underneath. Dennis steps up, makes a semi at Wimbledon. Now we've got Alcaraz is coming and a few more. So the generations, the next decade looks pretty good. Even we're going to lose some big names, Serena and Roger, eventually Rafa and Novak. But we're going to have plenty of stuff to enjoy for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's so much to like about the young crop coming through. And let's start with Alcaraz, because that was, I mean, you could almost argue that was one of the matches of the year, really. The way he played today, the way he took it up to Tsitsipas, drops the fourth, gets bageled. You would have expected him to roll over, but the way he just stayed composed, it was mature, came out and won it in a fifth set tiebreaker. I mean, take us through that match, BP. What were you thinking when you were watching it?
Oh, it was just captivating. I mean, we were captivated by Stefanos, what was going to happen around him and bathroom breaks. And we're more focused on his bathroom breaks than his actual tennis. But 4.5 minutes today, he was nice and swift in and out. He was back. And then, when at the end of the fourth, when the trainer came out and, they were flexing him everywhere, and you're sitting at home on the couch going, wow, if someone did that to me, I wouldn't be able to get up, Jed. But the young man is physically well built, and he just held his nerve. He looked across to Juan Carlos Ferrero on the box there, just for reassurance all the time. But it's the power he generates through that lower core, through his hips and legs. Boy, oh boy! I mean, it was just brilliant to watch. And so we've been tracking him for a little while, haven't we? You and I have been following him. Holger Rune as well. These guys are emerging. They're ready for the big stage. They're not worried about the resume or the reputation on the other side. They're just playing their game. And what a guy to have, Juan Carlos Ferrero, former world number 1 French Open champion. Darren Cahill said today, when he took a break from coaching Simona Halep for a period, he wanted to come home and he'd been on the road for a while. They were trying to identify a coach. And one of two names, there was a couple of names that came up, and one of them was Juan Carlos Ferrero. So Darren approached him, and Juan Carlos said, look, I'm interested. Simona Halep, it'd be a good job to coach Simona, but I've actually got this 15-year-old in Spain that I'm working with who's pretty talented, and I might just stick there. 3 years on, he has his finest moment at the US Open, and look, there's no doubt. He's just got star material written all over him, and he's idolised Rafael Nadal. I mean, what a guy to admire and have the privilege of training with and picking his brain and just being in that environment. So, I just thought his stroke making was unbelievable. And you're always looking for the mental side, aren't you, Jed? I don't know what you think, but just his capacity to stay engaged and just play point by point by point, and brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think you've summed it up well then. I mean, we're big on the mental side. I mean, from an Australian point of view, we see a lot of players come through with so much talent that don't have the mental game to back it up. I think you look at Alcaraz, this guy is, you're right, he's star material. He's got that mental edge, and we spoke about it, comes back from a bagel in the fourth set to win. That takes a bit of resilience, and
just hungry. Great competitor.
Yeah, serious competitor. I was watching that today. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what was unfolding. It was, I think a star was born on Ash tonight.
No doubt. So he's got Peter Gojovcik, the qualifier, into a fourth round.
Who, mind you, is playing well.
He has. A man that we normally associate more with qualities and, lucky loser next to his name across his journey. So Alcaraz, what an opportunity to make a quarterfinal of a slam. So we'll wait and see how he goes in the next match.
And we will have a maiden semi-finalist there because Felix as well is in that side with who's Felix playing next up? I think those two also.
TFO.
TFO. So those 4 players will have a maiden semi-finalist. So it's very exciting on the men's side.
Yeah, Felix clutch. I mean, to beat Bautista Agut, that's a tough assignment in tennis. We know Roberto just plays solid all the time. He's a pro, so he's 2 sets to love down. He fights back, and then Felix down the stretch gets it done. It's hard not to like him. When I think back to junior Wimbledon on a court that doesn't exist anymore, I think it was court 9 at Wimbledon, as you're coming down the hill there towards sort of centre court. And it was Felix up against Demonor in a Wimbledon junior semi-final going back a number of years ago now. And you could see it then that he was a star in the making. And, Canada's doing something very right with their tennis at the moment. And TFO, I mean, after 2 a.m., look, this guy has so much talent, but there's no doubt that Wayne Ferreira is a massive influence here. Rock solid South African. I remember back when he was, making semi-finals of the Australian Open.
Yeah.
And, we've heard him commentate. He's gone down the coaching track. So I'm sure he said to a guy like Tifo, well, I can't take away your natural flair and exuberance. You've got a lot of personality about you, but I've got to make you more disciplined. I've got to make you choose the better shot, not to go the Hollywood shot all the time. Just hold fire. Pull the trigger when you need to, but be disciplined. And you can see it starting to shine through in TFO because he was emerging as sort of one of the leaders of that next-gen pack, and then he slipped back and players overtook him, and you thought, where's he going? He's a little bit no man's land. He's in the 60s, 70s in the rankings. But this is the level, this is the stage that he belongs, and he was brilliant to beat Rublev in the last match.
Yeah, and I mean, we speak about firepower. He's got serious firepower. I think with TFO, it's a case of being able to harness his abilities. He's got so much there to work with, and I think you're spot on. That is going to be interesting to watch. The next match, it's going to be an absolute cracker, I think.
Hey, what about my man, who I got to get around his name, Botic van der Zandschulp. I need a bit of work on that. He's into a 4th round. I've been seeing his name, and you sort of look a little bit of vision of him because he's been a bit off the radar coming through. The Dutchman who gets through quali, so he plays Schwartzman next, and that's a huge stage. Boy, oh boy, if he starts making some noise, I'm going to have to get my head around that for radio down the track potentially. And then let's talk about Alexey Popper. It was tough to watch. To watch today.
I watched that match in full BP, and it was. This match was on before the Alcaraz Tsitsipas match, and I said, at that point, that was the match of the tournament so far for mine. Popper, he hit 77 winners, unable to get the chocolates, but Dan Evans, he was just magnificent from the first ball, only hitting 8 unforced errors in 5 sets. That is really as good as it gets. And in the first 2 sets, Evans was playing just as well as Popperin. I think Popperin he had him on the big points, and he was able to sort of stay a bit more composed. But wow, you can't even like look at Alexey here and shake your head because he played well.
Look, he did, and the reality is he's still a work in progress, and he's far from the finished product, Popperin.
Yeah.
And so he's got this, stature in the court. He never looks like he's sweating, Alexei. He never looks like he's totally grinding. He's got, beautiful timing. He's got power. He's got a big serve. But it is more than that. And he knows it has to be more than that if he's going to, keep rising up the tennis ladder. And what Dan Evans has got is he's got a bit of everything. He's a bit of a throwback. He's got the slice. He's got the court coverage. He loves getting to the net.
Yeah.
He's just a really good, solid player who hasn't got too many chinks. So you always expected him to fight back, but we've had a tough week with the Aussies, haven't we? Duckworth, match points. Tomo, match points. Popper and 2 sets to love. They've all had opportunities to win some big matches and haven't been able to get over the line. I reckon they'd all be still stewing over their results. I know you've got to move on pretty quickly in tennis, but I reckon these ones really sting this week, just the positions that our three Aussies got themselves into. But Evans to now take on Medvedev, who's cruising at the moment. I mean, he really hasn't been tested at this stage. Comprehensive straight sets victories to nil. I mean, it looks like his path is, heading towards the semi-final.
Yeah, I actually reckon Evans is not going to be an easy customer here. He's, we've just spoken about how good he is. I think he's a chance here. I'm not saying he's going to win this game, maybe, but I think he can take him to 4 or 5 sets and, possibly he can win. Medvedev's cruising, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he performs when he's actually challenged, because I think he's going to be challenged here. Yeah,
well, Evans is going to throw lots of different stuff at you. He's not going to just, be hitting it into your hitting zone and just power feeding off power. He's going to, there's some dipping, slicing type balls, around the ankles. He's going to, he'll throw in the drop shot. He's got variety, and he knows he has to. In his stature, he hasn't got, the power game that he's always going to blow you off the court. So he has to add all these other elements. But yeah, Evans Medvedev is quite tasty, I've got to say. 4th round.
Yeah, completely agree. BP, I want to talk about the women's matches today because there were some crackers. Can we talk about Simona Halep for a minute? Because we mentioned her before, and Darren Cahill. I mean, this was, for me, almost the women's match of the day behind Fernandez and Osaka. She's back, and she's back in a big way, Simona Halep.
She was good. The US Open hasn't always been that kind to her, and we know her year has been tough through the middle part there with injury. Rybakina, I mean, she's long limbs, big ball striker. We saw her go, toe-to-toe with Serena at the French this year and beat her. And, yeah, she's a difficult customer. And this is the great part about Halep that you sort of admire, is that her attributes versus some bigger players with bigger power, she's able to sort of nullify that. She's able to just get around the court. Her wheels have always been first class. So she's a star, Simona Halep. So it's great to see her back in some genuine form. Svitolina next, so they're going to be working each other over because both love to get a lot of balls back into play. There's going to be some rallies in that match, and Alina's just sort of sneaking through, doing it fairly comfortably at this stage in her matches. So that's a great 4th round match.
Yeah, that one's going to be a cracker. Definitely do not want to miss that one. Angie Kerber, she's back in form, and she's been playing really well since the grass court season, I think, and she dropped the first set against Sloane Stephens, but played pretty much a flawless game in the second and third sets and runs away with it. She's going to be hard to beat as well. I think this women's draw, we're seeing less upsets, which is I guess good, because we're seeing all the big players get through to the deeper end of the major, which is something that we haven't seen this year at all on the women's side. We spoke about at Wimbledon how many different semi-finalists we've seen this year at the 3 majors. I think at the US Open, I think we're going to get some blockbuster quarterfinal matchups.
Some really good matchups. This side of the draw, all these 4th round matches are going to be brilliant. So Kerber, DNA, defends. But she can go on a tear offensively as well, Angie. I mean, she has that really low crouch position to hit her forehand. And she's just a great fighter. But she's got her mojo back that she'd lost there for a period. So she wants more success. She's not done, I've won 3 majors, but I want more. I want another taste of this, even though she's ticked over 30 now. So her and Fernandez, battle of 2 lefties. Leila Fernandez, I saw her win her first WTA event earlier this year, and we knew she was coming through the juniors. Steps up there. Pretty sure that was in South America. I think she won that tournament. And her confidence in the aftermatch interview with Mary Jo Fernandez on court today, just the confidence. It wasn't cockiness. It was just a confidence that, I belong on this stage, and I think I've got the game that can beat these players, even though they're more experienced and they've been around a hell of a lot longer. So, that's going to be a cracker. 2 lefties going head-to-head.
Yeah, that is – I mean, there's so many games here which you don't want to miss. I think we're going to have to chuck the kettle on, make some coffee. And
just a quick word on Osaka. Look, it's sad, to be honest. I mean, I watched her press conference afterwards. In fact, she was okay with the English media when she started taking questions in Japanese is when she started to become a bit emotional about where she's at. I mean, you can't get in anyone's mind and try and understand who they are totally, and we're all trying to work that out with Naomi, and she's admitted to her mental health issues this year. But, she's just not looking like she's enjoying going to work. And, I mean, she's talked about today having another enforced layoff. How long that lasts, I don't know. I mean, she's got a great coach in Wim Fissette, who's done some amazing things with a lot of players. I mean, not even he right now. He's probably feeling a little helpless, just trying to get into the mind. I mean, he can work with her technically and he can work with her on her game, but to get in someone's mind and totally solve that, I don't know where she goes from here, Naomi. It's sad for her. Don't worry about the sport. I mean, we lose a big draw card, but just why things are battling, I don't know. It's a really tough one to try and read.
It's really tough to read. And I mean, I think, regardless of what you think of her, you can see she's clearly not comfortable. She's not at her best. If you were her coach, what would you be recommending that she do for the rest of this year at least?
Well, she's just got to find a happy place. I mean, I think that's what she's been trying to achieve. So, I think all of us who follow tennis, we sort of understand the backstory of Naomi Osaka and, homeschooled and just didn't have that normal upbringing. Tennis was going to be her path from a very young age. We've seen lots of versions of Naomi. We've seen the beautiful smiling Naomi who gives you plenty. We saw it last year, and then we've seen the anxiety of being on the big stage, trying to find this balance between having a private life and knowing that everyone wants a piece of you. I mean, there's so much going on off court. She's been criticised a bit for that. I mean, endorsements, appearances, this, that, and everything else. I mean, worth a lot of money, and I suppose the pressure and the focus that goes with that. I mean, she's pretty authentic. I mean, if she's happy, you can see it. If she's sad, she can't disguise it. So I don't know. I think it's probably just saying to her, hey, when you're ready. Ultimately, you just want to be happy in your life. So it doesn't have to be tennis for the rest of your life. You're 25, you can do whatever you like. I mean, she's, financially, there's no issues there for a sustained period. So anyway, let's hope she can find some peace and just enjoy playing tennis, but a long way from it at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's going to be really interesting, I guess, to see what happens from here. I just hope, as we've mentioned, that she can find that happy place and return to the court a new and improved Naomi Osaka. BP, Arina Sabalenka, she's just flying under the radar, isn't she?
Got it done over Danielle Collins, two feisty competitors going head-to-head in the late match, which was on Louis Armstrong. So, Sabalenka, we're expecting her pretty much to be at this stage of the slams now. This is where she should be, going into a fourth round, trying to head into the second week. She's trying to win her first slam, and she plays one way, and it's worked for her pretty well, but it's still got to get her over the line in these really big matches down the stretch of a slam. So that's the next step for her, up against Elise Mertens. These two had a lot of double success, winning slams together, best of friends. And then in that lower section there, you've got Muguruza, who's had a pretty good week, terrific win against Azarenka today, up against Krejcikova, who's backed it up. Everyone thought, okay, you win a French Open. What happens beyond that? Do you sort of just disappear off the radar? But it seems like that winning that French Open has just given her enormous confidence in singles. And I think, prior to, I think she didn't even qualify 5 or 6 times to get into the main draw previously, Barboda. But no, she's playing really good tennis. She's striking it beautifully. So all those matches are brilliant in the fourth round.
It's crazy to think, you look at Krejcikova, it's her maiden US Open main draw appearance. She's never played at Flushing Meadows in the main draw before. And we speak about her form since Wimbledon. She's been in pretty good form. She obviously won in Prague. She lost to Ash Barty in Wimbledon, which was the only singles tournament she's played. There was the first singles tournament she played after the French Open. So Ash Barty is actually the only player that she's lost to on the singles court since Roland Garros. So you look at that, I mean, she can't be doing a whole lot more.
No, I mean, she's just a good tennis player. Her doubles certainly makes her a good all-court player. She's comfortable at the back. She's comfortable coming in. Decent enough serve. It looks like she might sort of stay around the mark for a little while. I mean, you actually feel like she's been around for a lot longer. I mean, she's only in her mid-20s, so she's still got more growth potentially to come in singles.
Absolutely. It's really interesting, that conversation about how playing doubles can actually influence your singles game. I mean, we look at Ash. She played some incredible doubles tennis for a while, and she was playing at a much higher level on the doubles court than she was on the singles court at the beginning of her career. That translated. You look at Krejcikova, you look at some other players to a lesser extent, and it's a fair argument, having a stint on the doubles court. You look at the men's game, Max Purcell, he's had this remarkable doubles run with Luke Saville, and now obviously to a lesser extent, but he's getting some results on the singles court. So, it's definitely paying off for these players.
Yeah, definitely. And you throw in, talk about Sabalenka before, but she played a lot of doubles with her at the least winning Grand Slams. And obviously the shift now has been, okay, I'm going to focus more on the singles, but it's helped her as well. So we've got some great matches coming up on that side. And just a quick scan ahead to tomorrow, Ash Barty heading to the night session, which is a bit kinder for us.
Yeah, it is.
Australia, just to allow us to get a little bit more shut-eye, if you don't mind. Thank you, Ash. I appreciate that. Up against Shelby Rogers, 5-0 the head-to-head. 5th time they'll have met this year. I mean, there's some players you never play in your career, full stop. Yeah. 5th time, so very familiar with Rogers' game. Solid player from the States, never reached the heights that Ash has. So I feel confident with that one. And Tomljanovic, we're looking around about, so that'll be, a 9 o'clock start tomorrow morning Eastern to start the night session. And then Isla Tomljanovic looking around a 5 a.m. start, third up on grandstand up against Pliskova. So what an opportunity again for Isla. I mean, I think Carolina, full respect. I mean, she's the 4th seed and she's been around the top 5 of women's tennis for some time. Wimbledon finalist, still yet to win a major, which would surprise a lot of people for her talent. But I always feel she's gettable, Pliskova, if you can play the game the right way and execute. If you can get her moving and get her a little uncomfortable, but we'll see what Isla brings to the table tomorrow. It's fingers crossed.
It's going to be a really interesting one. Isla, for me, I mean, I think she's had a marvellous year. It's really progressed. It all started at the Australian Open. She got so close against Halep, had her opportunities there. And I think that was almost, I guess, an indication of what was to come. It sort of foreshadowed her season. She's made the quarterfinals at Wimbledon. She's in really good form. It's her first time in the 3rd round of the US Open, and I give her every chance. She's my dark horse on the women's side.
She's got to get into those return games against Pliskova, who knows going to serve big. So if she can make some real inroads there and really put some pressure on those return games, that's where the openings could come. But, look, a huge opportunity for Tomljanovic. A lot of Aussies in the doubles again. Not as many as today, but a few will be sprinkling around Saturday at Flushing Meadows, and a lot to look forward to, Jeddah. And, of course, people can keep an eye on our socials, operating right across the clock, really, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, however you follow us. So we're taking you inside the US Open and also covering the Aussies who are doing it off the radar. It's interesting, while that whole Alcaraz excitement was unfolding at Flushing Meadows with 23,000, close to the same time, Thanasi Kokkinakis at 2 a.m. in the south of France with no spectators there won an epic 3-setter. And he's so far off Broadway, that tournament, but these are the hard yards Thanasi's got to do at the moment to get his ranking back up. So we're covering all that as well, and our website, of course, at thefirstserve.com.au.
Absolutely, BP. Thank you. We will do this again tomorrow. Looking forward to another mega day at Flushing Meadows.
Indeed. Bring it on.